This is a podcast from BFM 89.9, the business station.
Open for Business on BFM 89.9.
BFM 89.9, the business station. Good morning and welcome to Open for Business. It's me, Rich Bradbury, and this is that show that dives into the journeys and the ventures of entrepreneurs and business leaders. This morning on the show, I'll be speaking with Derek Yee, founder of Sigma School. Now, Sigma School was founded in 2022, and it's more than just an online coding bootcamp. It's a bold initiative that aims to redefine tech education here in Malaysia with a focus on real-world skills and job readiness. Sigma School offers a 3-month intensive program with a unique guarantee. Either secure a tech job or you get your money back. And today I am joined by Derek, the founder of Sigma School. We're going to dive into his journey, the challenges of building an impactful EdTech platform, and his vision for the future of tech education. So if you have any thoughts or questions, you can get us on our U-Mobile WhatsApp number 018-789-8899, or you can reach out to us on X. We are at BFM Radio. Derek, welcome to the show, my friend.
Thank you. My pleasure to be here, Richard.
It's a great pleasure to have you here. Now, let's take a step back a little bit to your early days. Before Sigma School and venture capital, what was your first encounter with coding like, and what made you think and realize that this was something you wanted to kind of dedicate yourself to?
To be honest with you, before university, I was never the tech whiz kid. I was just that guy who's following my parents' advice to do very good in school. I did biology, I did accounting and finance, and I never considered myself as a tech guy.
Right.
So then the question here is, how did I end up becoming a tech founder, building SaaS startups everywhere, working on software projects, and eventually running a school, right? So this story goes back to when I was still in university. I didn't enjoy accounting and finance. I really just took it because I felt like, I wanted to do business, and I thought I needed to have a degree. So I just simply chose a degree and just went on with it, even though I didn't like it.
It's part of the bigger jigsaw. It fits.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's why I did it. Okay.
Yeah. However, I didn't like it. So every day going to school, I'm like, I really do not like this. So in the final year of university, I did my uni in the UK. In the final year, I joined this because I think a lot of funding are very concentrated in London. And in northern UK, not a lot of funding for startups are there.
Which uni was it?
I was in Lancaster Uni.
Okay.
Yeah. And so I was part of this. I spearheaded this student VC firm in northern UK, in my university and a few other universities, where we got student VCs go out there hunting for deals for our investors. That's what I did with some of my friends. And that's when I was like, this is amazing. That's how I'm going to bridge the gap between my interest in finance, because I really didn't like the whole investment banking, M&A kind of thing. I didn't enjoy that as much, even though it's really prestigious.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I found a way to bridge startups, my interest in business, and accounting. And the very default of startup is you need to be able to scale a business. So think Facebook, think Instagram, think this kind of companies. You need tech. And tech is the only thing that's the common denominator between all this scalable business, right? Think having the skill to sit in front of your laptop and just build something and scale it to like 7 billion people in the world. Just one product, right? So that's really what got me into tech in the very early days.
Okay, very smart move. Now, let's talk about Sigma School, because the promise is ambitious, right? With guaranteed job placements. What was your core motivation behind that? It's a pretty bold promise, and how do you mitigate the risks against that?
So when you think about education today, you're thinking about people paying 5 to 6 figures going to debt for a university degree, right? And at the end of the day, what they promise you is, why do people do degree in the first place, right? If you're going into there, to get a job, do you really need to sit for some of this really redundant courses? You spend months and months and years learning things that are redundant. Things like, in Malaysia, you have to go and learn some
I know.
history and stuff like that, right? Which I'm like, why are we doing this? Why are we going into debt to do this? And why is everyone thinking that you need this to get a job? So what I did was because I came from a background where I was a self-taught coder. I didn't go to university for this. I went to a degree for finance, but I was really crappy with finance. But with software, I had to craft my own path. And I think the beauty lies in being able to dive into the unknown and figure out the path. Should I learn Python first or SQL or JavaScript?
Right.
The beauty is in that. And the learning comes from you figuring the path that you want for yourself. So going into this, after 6 months of just me figuring things out, I eventually started closing projects, software projects, and I started, so the first few projects I got was around 300K ringgit. And that's where I started hiring people. And what gave me the confidence to, in the early days, give this money back guarantee promise to my students was when I realized that a lot of the people who came out of universities, like 90% of the people I interviewed, and mind you, I interviewed over hundreds of people back then, right? 90% were not even good enough to be at a level where I was at as a self-taught coder, right? After 6 months of coding, I was better than a lot of these IT graduates. So after closing projects, it was a very simple idea in the early days. I have a lot of projects. I have connections with a lot of these CTOs that because I was in VC, right? I knew CTOs. Everyone was desperate for talents. And I was like, okay, there's this model in the US called Lambda School, which is kind of failed now. But their mandate was really, really attractive. Their mandate was this: we need to share the risk with students, right? We need to be held accountable for student success. So they took it to the next level and they raised hundreds of millions of dollars, where what they said was, you don't need to pay a single penny until you get a job, which is crazy. But the whole model didn't work because a lot of them eventually either got a job, or I think they did something like got a job in something that's non-tech, but Lambda still went and get funding from it. And if you do get a job, you have to pay 10% of your salary for the next 7 years of your life, or $50,000, whichever comes first. Which I'm like, that's so expensive as well, right? So I was like, okay, how about I flip the switch a little bit and say, you know what? Let's share the risk together. You got to be held accountable as well, right? You got to put your money where your mouth's at as well, and you learn. And I am held accountable to help you. So we're both accountable to this. So you pay first, and I say, if you don't get a job, I'll give you your money back. And
shared motivation.
Yes, shared success, shared risk.
So, just out of interest, what was the first language that you...
the first one I did was Ruby, actually. But don't do Ruby today.
Right.
JavaScript. I would say the languages don't matter, right? It's just a language. It's how do you problem solve.
Correct.
That's the most important part,
Correct.
right? And so I did Ruby back in the days, and now it's just JavaScript.
I was doing Basic. And
Wow.
we moved on to C++, and then playing around with Python for the past few years. But, we're in a situation now where, and you will know this as well, AI has come in and flipped the script entirely again. We'll get on to more of that in a little bit, though. So you shifted from being this self-taught coder to creating this structured learning environment. How do you think that this journey then has shaped your views on traditional versus non-traditional education?
I think it's a very simple decision. If you want the prestige of having a university degree, maybe through whatever means someone planted that seed in your head, which I think most people in the world today will think that I need a university degree to be someone respected in life.
Yeah.
Without a degree, I'm just a nobody, right?
Yeah.
If you believe in that and you want to go there just for social status and stuff like that, I think then go ahead. If you go ahead with a university degree. If you want to go into research and really go on exploring the boundaries of where technology can go, you kind of need a PhD as well for that to go into research, right? But I think 90% of people today go to university not for this. They go to university because they want to get a job. So I think it's simple. If you want to get a job today, my mission for the world is you no longer need to go to university to get a job, right? If you want to go to university for social status, for example, going to Harvard and getting great networks with the greats of the world, that's a whole different ball game, right? If you want to go to university to do research on like breakthrough technologies, that's okay. But to get a job, I would say focus on what you need for the job and then just go from there, right?
I agree. I think times have changed drastically. Years ago, you had to have a degree to even get in through the door. You weren't even considered for an interview for a long time. Nowadays, half the time when I have applications from interns or whatever, it really doesn't bother me which university they've come from or how prestigious it is or how prestigious it's not. Once they're in a room and I have a conversation with them, that's what makes me choose that person. You'd be good for our company or you wouldn't be good for our company.
100%, right? Because I think back in the days, universities, it's just a form of signaling,
right,
where not many people has it. Then that one dude that has it is like, wow, you're great, you're special. But not every single person here, and they're giving scholarships left and right. Every Tom, Dick, and Harry has a degree. It's not different anymore.
I mean, I've met people from Harvard, and I've met people from other Ivy Leagues, and we've had conversations. And I've come out of that conversation conversation going, yeah, I probably wouldn't do business with that person.
I think there's a statistic that says that even in Harvard, the top university in the US, 50% of them got in through sports scholarship.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, it's cool. It's cool, but yeah,
it's not all that anymore, is it? Right. We're going to take a short break here before we get ourselves in trouble with the Ivy Leagues. I am, of course, speaking with Derek Yee. He's the founder of Sigma School, an online coding program based in Malaysia that offers a 3-month coding bootcamp for software development skills. I am Rich Bradbury, and you are, of course, listening to Open for Business. We'll be back in a moment. Keep it here on BFM 89.9, the business station.
Best for money. BFM 89.9.
BFM 89.9, the business station. My name is Rich Bradbury. Welcome back to Open for Business. Now, it is the show that dives deep into the journeys and ventures of entrepreneurs and business leaders. I'm speaking with Derek Yee, the founder of Sigma School. Just during the break, Derek, you said you're no longer just an online school anymore. Tell me a little bit about that.
That's correct. In the very early days, I used to think remote work is the future. I still do think remote work is the future, but there is a sense of camaraderie. There's a sense of togetherness, the sense of we're in this together, to just being in the same office, and that's why we've gotten an office in Puchong, and we do have. In fact, this very day today, when we're doing this, before I came here, I was just celebrating the graduation of our batch in August, and it really warms my heart seeing them come in and say, hey, I'm so lost. Because think about it, who joins a coding bootcamp? It's not cheap, right? You got to pay money for it. Who joins it? It's usually those who are slightly more lost in life. Because before the age of like 18, you're like, okay, my life is set. I'm just going to go to university after this. They don't think as much, but the moment people start thinking, usually it's when they start feeling lost. It's when they've trusted the process that's given to them and not gotten the results they wanted. So it's really, really nice when I'm able to see some of my students go in from like complete beginners, really lost in life, to now building full stack applications. Just think about building an app like Twitter, building Instagram, building Reddit from scratch themselves in like a matter of 2 weeks. So seeing them do that, and with the tech stack that we taught them, and them confidently present this on graduation day to our hiring partners as well, it just warms my heart. And I think the factor of being on site really makes it even closer.
All right. I want to move on now. So when you decided to create the school, what specific gap in the market were you trying to fill when you built the platform, and how did your experience in VC influence that decision of where you were going to position yourself?
Yeah, so I think I can share one of the most prominent memories I had in my life. One of the key decision drivers to make me go into tech was when I used to be in VC. I used to organize networking events, where we used to do a lot of VC startup founders matching events. And I could tell you this, I kid you not, the statistic is crazy. So everyone had a little badge to put on your t-shirt to show, oh, I'm a tech guy, I'm a business guy, or I'm a VC, right? The statistic is always like this. There's always one tech guy to 7 business people. So at the end of the event, it's always the business guys surrounding that one tech dude and say, hey, come take my equity. I want you to have a pie of my business, right? So that itself got me the insights to understanding what people need in the industry. Nobody cared. None of those business guys cared if you had a degree. All of them really wanted, oh, could you build this? And fun fact, they didn't even care about the language. No one cared if it was Python or Ruby or JavaScript. They're like,
can you build it or not?
Right. Can you do it? Can you get the job done? I want to build XYZ for my customers. Can you build this and get it up and get it deployed? And so it doesn't lag, right? So and that is that's how the seed was planted in my head, where the languages just don't really matter. Of course, in the early days of learning myself, it was difficult, but eventually I have, through my own research and my own understanding of how tech works, I'm able to just put it all down into 3 months. I took away all the fluff, just 3 months learning software development with JavaScript and our own stack.
Okay, so your platform or your school is aimed at diverse learners, beginners, career switchers, aspiring entrepreneurs. How do you ensure your curriculum stays relevant across such a broad audience? And particularly as we know, as tech is changing so quickly and broadly, how do you make sure you're getting the right, stay relevant?
So for this one, we measure on 2 fronts. Number 1, we have a daily feedback system where we speak to our students every single day to understand, number 1, are the instructors meeting the mark in terms of guiding you and teaching you? Number 2, are the learning materials good enough? And number 3, do you see yourself being able to apply this in the real world? We track this every single day for all 90 plus days of our bootcamp. That's on the students' end. Then on the employers' end, because it is the employers who will end up hiring them, right? If the employers deem that our students are incompetent, then there's no point with us teaching them that nothing's going to happen out of it. So for us, we track success based on whether or not our students can get jobs. So we do a quarterly audit with our hiring partners. We currently have 30 hiring partners to understand what's the tech stack that goes by. Generally, things don't change that much because we have made an educated decision to go with a certain tech stack that we have that really focuses on fundamentals and focuses on the ability to launch fast, right? You could learn C and C++, but that will take some time for our students to really get proficient with it. We want them to be able to build the front end, build the back end, build the cloud, build the infrastructure, do the CI/CD, the DevOps. We want them to get that up fast. So we made an educated decision in terms of choosing the tech stack that we think will be healthy in the long run. But if it doesn't, then we have to make the changes. For example, we did make some changes in our front end stack. We went from Vue to React because we realized that, okay, with React, you could just learn one code base, number one, to one code base to build web apps and mobile apps. So you didn't need to learn anything else. And one code base as well for Android and iOS. So it's like there's so much more business use case to using this, and because of that, we have changed everything to React.
Makes sense. Okay. So going back to your kind of previous life, related question. So funding obviously is probably the biggest hurdle for most startups. How did you secure your initial capital for Sigma School? Was it money out of your own pocket? Were you talking to some of your other VC friends, some of your colleagues from Lancaster University? What was it, and what were the biggest challenges in getting that money together?
Richard, interestingly enough, not a lot of people would have assumed I would have went the VC path just because I was in VC and I have a lot of friends in VC and a lot of people who are loaded with money. But when I first started, it was completely bootstrapped because remember I mentioned I got this 300K ringgit project? Yes, so I started a business not with a school. I started off with a service arm serving companies. So that's how I made my first kind of bucket of gold, if you may, right? It's a small amount. 300K is not too much, right? But it's enough to get started. I am also I'm a big fan of the indie hacking mindset. Indie hacking basically means you doing whatever minimum needed to just get results out of the gate. So when I first started 2 years ago, which is when I was featured on Astro back then, was when I worked with a few partners. So I negotiated something like a revenues share kind of deal with a few of my friends. I had people working in AirAsia, someone working in Grab, someone working in Microsoft as well, where we came together to kind of craft this path. And someone has to work on the fundamentals curriculum. Someone works on front end, someone works on back end, someone works on cloud. And that's how we started. No external funding, just that, and a landing page where I sold the dream of you learning to code in 3 months and then getting a job after that, or else we give you your money back. I sold this dream through ads because I'm a very digital savvy person. I'm a new money kid. You call it that, right? I ran ads. I did social media. I just shouted out in different groups and forums, and that's how we got our first batch of students. I remember the first batch of ads. The very first month we started, we went in with 5,000 ringgit, and without the curriculum done, because it wasn't a scam. It was a promise that this batch will launch in 6 months, right? So we told them the real truth and say, okay, if you want to lock in your seats now, then pay 5,000 ringgit. We started off at 5,000 ringgit, and that's how we made our initial pool of money.
What was the feedback like from that, though? I mean, let's be honest. I mean, you're starting a company with a promise, right?
Yep.
And nobody really knows who you are at this point.
Yep.
You're some kid who's been at Lancaster University, done something different, made it 300K, and is now starting a project and a business. And anybody could have said, "I'm doing that."
Yep.
How did you convince people to come to your school?
When it comes to convincing, it's just about perceived value. Yeah. So they perceived the value was great because I had all these logos on board. So they knew the instructors were okay. I put my face on the line and they knew this guy, it's not like an anonymous face where I'm just a faceless guy on the internet. I put everything on the line. I wrote my story.
You're not like a blockchain NFT project.
Yes. I put everything on the line. I shared my family. I shared my story, my family and all that, right? Everything is public about me. There's nothing to hide. So that increases like skin in the game, I guess, in some ways. And finally, it's me getting our hiring partners to do a video and a write-up in terms of what they believe the future of education and the future of tech jobs are going to be.
Okay, we're going to take another short break here. Folks, I'm speaking with Derek Yee. He's the founder of Sigma School. You're listening to Open for Business. It is the show that dives deep into the journeys and ventures of entrepreneurs and business leaders. We'll be right back after these messages here on BFM 89.9, the business station.
Bold, fearless Malaysians. BFM 89.9, the business station.
BFM 89.9, the business station. Welcome back to Open for Business. It is a show that dives deep into the journeys and ventures of entrepreneurs and business leaders. I'm speaking with Derek Yee. He's the founder of Sigma School. Great chat so far, Derek. I really admire your kind of testicular fortitude. Let's call it that. You're somebody who's, like you say, you're putting yourself on the line to go out there and promise something. What has the feedback been like from clients, students rather, and potential employees about the stuff that you're doing? How happy are they with the students that you've got and that they're accepting? Obviously, there must be a decent level of them being happy, otherwise they wouldn't accept them. What kind of feedback do you get from these employers?
So we've gotten students from different parts of the world. Recently, we have a Frenchman from France, and he actually moved all the way here to just study this bootcamp for 3 months. And all in all, I think we've gotten pretty good feedback in terms of the full-time bootcamps because people are getting jobs. In terms, because we have, if you don't mind, I can go a little bit more details about my other products as well, that about how I'm going to tie in the whole ecosystem together, right? The school is the part where we convert them to go from complete beginners to getting jobs and getting paid, right? But before even paying 15,000 ringgit, we have this other product. It's a learning, Duolingo, the mobile app to learn languages. We have a Duolingo for learning the code. It's called Codio. So with this app, it's something like a funnel where we bring in people to show them that, learning to code doesn't have to be difficult. It can be fairly straightforward. So
is it gamified?
It's gamified. Yeah, okay. It's gamified with AI. You have point system. You have leaderboards. You can. It's a fun learning experience because I used to take the train to work an hour every day, and I used to learn Duolingo on the train. So I was like, okay, maybe an app like this would make sense. So yeah, I think your question was on the feedback that we've gotten from our students. So for Codio
and employers,
right? So for Codio, the feedback hasn't been that great because with a product we have a lot of things to think about, to worry about. It's good to a certain extent, but we haven't really gone big yet. But with Sigma School so far, we have gotten a lot of success with our students. We have some students who are the memory that I'll never forget was this kid who came in. He is from a somewhat of a broken family. Didn't have the money to go to universities, and he was working as a tuition teacher. Another one similar situation was working 7-Eleven. He joined us, and we hired him in-house as an intern. And I think just by sheer will and determination, they both landed a job in the US for 4,000 USD, which I'm like, that's crazy, working remotely, right? So on the students' end, I think these are the things that really make my heart feel very warm. On the employer side of things, we do a quarterly audit, like I mentioned, right? We get on the call with them to understand, hey, this student that we matched to you, this student that you hired from us, and we are something like a recruiter on that side, but we don't monetize it yet today because our students are still a bit junior, right? Recruiters charge 20% of their annual salary. We don't do that yet. Maybe someday when we're big enough, but for now we give them for free, and all we ask is you need to give us an honest opinion on what is the required tech stack that our future graduates need to have. And for this person that we match to you, what is some feedback that you have from our students? Most of the time, in fact, we've never gotten a bad review in terms of our talents that they hired from our hiring partners. One of them even said that, this guy is someone that I want to bring long run with me. It's a startup, right? He's like, for the next 10 years, I want to groom this guy to become my CTO, right? So we've gotten really good feedback. It's just, I guess right now, not enough because we are still very actively looking for hiring partners. We don't have enough hiring partners, and we don't have enough students as well. Right. We get around 30 plus students per batch. So our numbers will be around that range as well.
Okay. So beyond your pricing and beyond your job guarantee, what do you think sets you apart from some of the other boot camps that are out there? And elements like your instructor's background, how does that enhance this differentiation? Right. Because there are a lot of boot camps out there.
Yeah. I mean, you are right. I think pricing and the money back guarantee are the two biggest things because you look at the same quality boot camp in, let's say, France, for example. They charge 15,000 euros with no money back guarantee and for the same exact quality. So I think let's put that aside. For us, I envision Sigma School to be the big plan is this. We have a mobile app to attract people in to just explore coding. We have coding, we have data analytics, we have digital marketing. So we combine these things to just kind of like a little early free nugget to put them in.
Yeah.
So once they're in, they feel like they've got it. They're like, okay, you know what? I want to go all in. Then they quit most of them actually quit their jobs to join us, which is something I'm really proud about and something that makes me feel very responsible for their growth.
I was just going to say, if they're quitting their job to come in and you're telling them, I will get you a job guaranteed.
Yes.
That's a bit of responsibility.
Yes, that's a huge response. They're putting their livelihoods on the line. And so far, I'm very glad it's been working out fine. So it's the mentality of going all in that makes it work. Because learning to code, I think you do code as well, right?
Yeah.
You would understand that in the early days, at least, it's not easy. But when you go all in, you're like, okay, I need to figure this out no matter what. Once you have that level of pressure on you, you will somehow make it work. Because through the depths of like sorrows, you're like, you gotta make it work, right? Yeah. So the high level, it's Codio and then Sigma School. And after that, one thing we have really special that no other bootcamp has as well. I mean, obviously they have hiring partners as well, but for us, we also have this thing called Job Year, which we are launching very soon. It's a SaaS platform that helps people automate job applications throughout the world. Basically, think about this. On the very first day you join the bootcamp, all you got to do is upload your CV. What we do is we'll scrape the internet for all the jobs and match your requirements. So for example, if you want a company that is, for example, from the US, and this company needs to have, let's say, a culture of happiness, a culture of like camaraderie, and this company needs to be maybe 300 man size, you don't want to work in a startup. So you put in your requirements. Okay, you want to do React.js, you want to do JavaScript, you want to do Express.js. You put in your exact requirements and we will scrape the internet, find those jobs and match it to you and then apply for you according to the best practices that we've deemed in.
Smart.
So the whole ecosystem is built this way so that on the very day, I mean, the goal is, we're not there yet because this product isn't fully functional yet. It's almost there, hopefully by end this year. So the idea is on the day you graduate, you already have all these lists of jobs out there for you. So I was thinking, instead of us going out there one by one with hiring partners, because we currently have 30, I'm like, okay, how much is enough? So we have 30 already. After this 30, I want to try and help them automate all this. There's like 30 hiring partners, but there's like probably 3 million jobs out there, right? How can I bring in all these jobs where they can see it and apply immediately?
I think I've got one more question for you before we wrap up.
Okay.
You're obviously very confident. You know your product, you're proud of your product, and you're confident in what your product's going to achieve over the next few years. Every entrepreneur makes mistakes, right? And I'm sure along the way you've made a few mistakes. What is one mistake for you that sticks out and sometimes keeps you awake at night?
The most painful one's going to be people mistakes. Hiring the wrong ones and not letting letting go of not keeping the right ones. Those are the ones that really keep us up at night. I mean, we are 2 years old and our revenue now is like almost 2M or around that level. So we're not big. We're still really small in the grand scheme of things. So hiring talent has always been difficult. And like we are not big enough to find polished gems. It's just an analogy, right? We can only find diamonds in the rough, people who are still not so figured out yet. And sometimes it's our job to find these people and nurture them and keep them. So I think the biggest mistakes I've made would be some toxic players, keeping them in the team for way too long because we're a startup, right? In a bigger company, let's say 1,000-man company, one guy in a 1,000-man company is less than 1%.
Nothing.
Yeah, you're nothing. It doesn't matter. For us, we're a team of like 15 people. One person is almost like 10% of the company, right? Yeah, so some really good players, we didn't manage to keep them and we had to let them go. And I think that is painful because I have spent so much time training them, building relationships with them, and just it's tough because
right. Yeah, I get it.
Needing to start from scratch. I think that's the most painful. It's not even the sales, not even the marketing. Those things are there. But for me, I value the people in my team a lot because who teaches the class, right? The teachers. Who builds the products? The people.
Yeah. Derek, it's been a pleasure speaking with you today. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you so much, Richard.
Great chat. Now, folks, I've been speaking with Derek Yee, founder of Sigma School. They're a coding program based in Malaysia that offers a 3-month coding bootcamp for software development skills. You have, of course, been listening to Open for Business, the show that dives into the journeys and ventures of entrepreneurs and business leaders. If you missed any part of this conversation, you can catch the podcast on our website at bfm.my. Derek, what's the address for your website? sigmaschool.co.co. There you go. Also, download the BFM app. You can also find our shows on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and the other podcast players. Just search for Open for Business. Up next, we've got the 11 o'clock news bulletin, and then over to Matt Splained. For now, keep it here on BFM 89.9, the business station.
You've been listening to Open for Business on BFM 89.9.
You have been listening to a podcast from BFM 89.9, the business station. For more stories of the same kind, download the BFM app.